The ship called the Wanderer floated in the darkness of space. It was far from Earth. So far that the sun looked like just another tiny star among billions. Captain Kong Jun stood at the window of the command room and stared into the endless black. 3 years. They had slept in frozen pods for 3 years to reach this place. "Captain, we are approaching the signal location," said Choi Woo from the navigation desk. He was the youngest member of the crew. His fingers moved quickly across the control screen. 10 minutes until arrival. Jun nodded slowly. He turned to look at his crew. Park Tae sat at the communications station, adjusting the translators they might need. Lee Soo checked the medical supplies one more time, and Yoon Hana stood near the door, her eyes bright with excitement. She was the one who studied alien life. Today she might finally meet some. "Everyone knows the plan," Jun said. His voice was calm but firm. "We do not know what we will find. Stay alert. Stay together." The Wanderer had been sent to investigate a signal. This signal was old, very old. Scientists on Earth said it was older than human civilization. Older than the pyramids, older than the first humans who walked on 2 legs. The signal came from the center of the galaxy, and it repeated the same pattern over and over. Someone, or something, wanted to be found. The ship slowed down. Through the front window they saw it. "What is that?" Wu whispered. It was a station, but it was like nothing humans had ever built. The structure was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. It was made of metals that glowed with soft blue and gold light. Parts of it moved slowly, like the station was breathing. It looked old and new at the same time, ancient but alive. "The signal is coming from inside," Tae said. His voice shook a little. "It knows we are here." The pattern just changed. Jun took a deep breath. "Prepare the shuttle. Hannah Tae, you are with me. Sue and Wu stay on the ship. If we do not return in 6 hours, leave and report to Earth." Sue wanted to argue, but she knew the rules. She nodded. The shuttle was small. It carried the 3 of them through the emptiness between the Wanderer and the station. As they got closer, they saw details on the surface. There were symbols carved into the metal. Beautiful patterns that seemed to tell stories. Jun did not understand them, but he felt something strange in his chest. The patterns looked almost familiar. A door opened on the station. It opened by itself, as if inviting them inside. "They want us to enter," Hannah said softly. Jun guided the shuttle through the door. They landed in a large hall filled with that same soft light. The air was warm and clean. It felt safe somehow, like coming home after a long journey. They stepped out of the shuttle. Their boots made soft sounds on the floor. The hall was empty, but they could feel they were not alone. Then they appeared. The beings came from the walls themselves. They stepped out of the light like ghosts becoming real. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow from the inside. Their eyes were large and deep, filled with colors that did not exist on Earth. They moved like water, smooth and graceful. There were 5 of them. Hannah raised her hand slowly in greeting. Tae activated the translator device. Jun stood very still, his heart beating fast. The beings stared at the humans. They did not speak. They did not move. They just looked and looked as if they were seeing something impossible. One of them, the oldest one, stepped forward. His light was softer than the others. His movements were slow and careful. He looked at Jun's face for a long time. Then he looked at Hannah. Then at Tae. The old being's eyes filled with something that looked like tears. But the tears were made of light. They fell down his face and disappeared before they touched the ground. After 7 billion years, the translator spoke his words. The voice was shaking. "You found your way home?" Jun did not understand. "Home. We are from Earth. We came to investigate your signal." The old being shook his head slowly. He reached out his hand and touched Jun's face. His fingers were warm. "Earth," the being repeated. "Yes, that is where you landed. That is where you grew. But it was not where you began." Hannah stepped forward. "Who are you? What is this place?" "We are the Eldera," the old one said. "We are the first. The oldest, We have existed since the universe was young and hot. This station is our home, one of the last places we remain." He paused. His voice became softer. "My name is Orin. I am the elder speaker." "And what did you mean," Tay asked carefully, "when you said we found our way home?" Orin looked at the other Eldara. They were all crying now, tears of light falling from their ancient eyes. One of them, a female, covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. 7 billion years ago," Orin said, "we created you. You were our greatest hope. Our children. We sent you to a young galaxy to grow and learn and become something wonderful." His voice broke. But there was a disaster. A star died and sent waves of destruction across space. It destroyed our communication. We searched for you. We called for you, but there was only silence. He touched June's face again, tracing the lines of his features. "We thought you were dead. All of you. We mourned for millions of years. We never stopped mourning." Orin's light flickered with emotion. "But here you are. You survived? You found us." June felt his legs go weak. He could not believe what he was hearing. Humans were created by these beings? Humans were their children? "That is impossible," he said. "We evolved on Earth. We have fossils. We have history." "You evolved from what we planted," Orin said gently. "The seeds we sent adapted to your world. They became part of it. But the core of you, the spark that makes you human, that came from us." Hannah had tears in her eyes now. Real human tears. "You are saying we are not alone?" "We were never alone," "No," Orin said. He pulled June into an embrace. The human captain stood frozen in the arms of a being older than the stars. "You were lost, but you were never alone. We thought of you every day for 7 billion years." Orin pulled back and looked at all three humans. "We thought you were all lost," he whispered. "We mourned you for eons, but you survived. You grew. You crossed the stars and found us." He smiled, and his smile was the saddest and happiest thing June had ever seen. "Welcome home, children. Welcome home." The Eldara brought the humans deeper into the station. They walked through halls of light and crystal, past windows that showed stars being born in distant clouds of gas. Everything was beautiful and strange. June walked in silence, still trying to understand what Orin had told them. Hannah stayed close to a female Eldara named Vela. She was the keeper of records. Gosh, the one who remembered everything. Her eyes were kind, but there was great sadness in them. "You have questions?" Vela said. "I can see them in your face. Come, I will show you the truth." She led them to a great chamber. The room was round and tall, reaching up so high they could not see the ceiling. The walls were covered with crystals. Millions of them. Each crystal glowed with soft light, and inside each one, images moved like tiny movies. Vela explained, "Every moment of our history is stored here. 7 billion years of existence." Da looked around in wonder. "This is incredible. We have nothing like this on Earth." "You will," Vela said with a gentle smile. "In time." She raised her hand and the crystals responded. Light flowed from the walls and gathered in the center of the room. The light became shapes, images. A story began to play before their eyes. They saw the universe when it was young, hot and wild and full of chaos. They saw the first Eldara emerge from the cosmic fire, beings of energy who slowly learned to take physical form. They watched the Eldara spread across the young galaxies, bringing order to chaos, planting seeds of life on countless worlds. "We were gardeners," Vela said softly. "We cared for the universe. We helped life grow wherever we could." The images changed. They saw the Eldara working in great laboratories, mixing light and matter and something else. Something that looked like starlight and felt like love. 7 billion years ago? "We began our greatest project," Vela continued. "We wanted to create a new species. One that would carry the best parts of us into the future. Curiosity, creativity, the ability to feel deeply, the strength to survive anything." Hannah watched the images with wide eyes. She saw the Eldara shaping something, building something, creating life itself. "We made you," Orin said. He had joined them in the chamber. We made humans. The images showed small vessels, hundreds of them being launched into space. Inside each vessel were the beginnings of the new species, seeds of humanity. We sent you to a young galaxy, Orin explained. Your galaxy, the Milky Way. It was wild and dangerous, but it was also full of possibility. We wanted you to grow there, to learn, to become strong. What happened? June asked. His voice was rough. Why did you lose us? The images turned dark. They saw a massive star, bloated and red, suddenly explode. The explosion sent waves of energy across space. The waves destroyed everything in their path. Communication stations, relay points, the careful network that Eldara had built to stay connected with their children. The great silence, Vela said. Her voice was heavy with old pain. One moment we could hear you, the next, nothing. Only emptiness. We searched, Orin added. We sent ships to find you. But the explosion had changed the shape of space itself. The paths we knew were gone. We could not find your galaxy anymore. Sue and Wu had joined them now, brought from the ship by the Eldara. Sue listened with her scientist's mind racing. You said you created us, she said. Can you prove it? Vela nodded. She reached into the light and pulled out a small crystal. Inside were patterns that Sue recognized immediately. DNA, genetic code. This is the template we used, Vela said. Compare it to your own. Sue took the crystal with trembling hands. She connected it to her portable scanner. Numbers and patterns filled her screen. She stared at them for a long time. When she looked up, her face was pale. It matches, she whispered. Not perfectly. There have been changes over billions of years. But the core structure, the fundamental patterns, they are the same. She looked at Orin. We really are your descendants. Silence filled the chamber. The humans looked at each other. Everything they knew about themselves, about their history, about their place in the universe, had just changed. A young Eldara stepped forward. His name was Null, and he had been watching the humans with great interest. I have studied your transmissions, he said. The signals that leak from your planet into space. You have television, radio. We have been listening for the last 1,000 years. Who looked surprised. You have been watching us? Yes, Null said. But we did not know it was you. We thought you were just another species that had evolved naturally. We did not realize you were our lost children. He paused. You are very different from what we expected. Different how? Hannah asked. Noelle looked uncomfortable. You fight. You kill each other. You destroy your own world. We did not design you for that. The humans felt shame rise in their chests. Null was right. Human history was full of war and cruelty. But Null continued. You also create beautiful things. Music that makes us weep. Art that shows the depths of your souls. Stories of heroes who sacrifice everything for strangers. You love so deeply that it hurts. He shook his head in wonder. We do not understand how you can be so terrible and so wonderful at the same time. Orin placed his hand on Null's shoulder. That is because they grew alone. Without us to guide them, they had to find their own way. They fell many times, but they always got back up. Wu asked the question that had been burning in everyone's mind. If you made us, why did you leave us alone for so long? Why did you stop looking? Orin's light dimmed with sorrow. We did not leave you. We lost you. And when we could not find you, we believed you were dead. We mourned. We built memorials. We spoke your names in ceremonies of grief. His voice cracked. We never stopped loving you. We simply believed you were gone forever. Vela waved her hand, and a new image appeared. It showed a map of their galaxy, the Milky Way. One point was highlighted. A small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. This is where one of your colony ships crashed, Vela said. We found the records in our ancient files. The ship was damaged in the explosion. It drifted for millions of years before falling onto this world. Earth, June breathed. Yes, Vela said. Earth. Your new home. The place where you were reborn. Hannah felt tears running down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. All of human history. Everything we built. Everything we suffered. It all started with a crashed ship and a lost colony. Oren stepped close to her. He was crying too, his tears of light falling like stars. You were not just a lost colony, he said. You were our hope. And somehow, against all odds, you survived. You did more than survive. You reached the stars and found your way back to us. He looked at all the humans, his ancient eyes full of love and pride. We lost our children 7 billion years ago. Today, they have come home. 3 days passed on the Eldar station. The humans were given rooms to sleep in, food to eat, and time to think. But thinking was the hardest part. June spent most of his time alone. He walked through the empty halls of the station, looking at the ancient walls, touching the symbols carved into the metal. He felt lost inside his own mind. All his life, he had believed in the story of humanity. Humans had crawled out of the mud. They had learned to walk, to speak, to build. They had made fire and wheels and rockets. They had reached the stars through their own effort. It was a story of struggle and triumph, a story to be proud of. Now that story felt like a lie. Humans had not built themselves. They were built. Created in a laboratory by beings so old that human history was just a blink of their eyes. Everything humans had done, every war they had fought, every poem they had written, was it all just the echo of Eldara design? He sat down in a dark corner and put his head in his hands. Hannah found him there. She sat down next to him without speaking. For a long time, they just existed together in the quiet. I know what you are thinking, she finally said. Do you? You think none of it matters now? You think we are just copies, products? Not real?
Ow.
June looked at her. Are we real, I mean? Hannah thought about this. She was a scientist. She dealt in facts and evidence. But this question was bigger than science. Let me ask you something, she said. A child is born to parents. The child has her mother's eyes and her father's smile. She inherits their genes, their tendencies, maybe even some of their fears and hopes. Does that make the child less real? Does it mean the child's choices do not matter? June did not answer. We came from the Eldara, Hannah continued. They gave us our beginning. But they did not give us our history. They did not fight our wars or paint our paintings or fall in love in our place. We did all of that. We made ourselves into what we are. Being created does not make us less. It just means our story has an earlier chapter. June looked at her for a long time. Some of the weight on his heart began to lift.
How are you so calm about this?
He asked. Hannah smiled, but it was a sad smile. I am not calm. I cried for hours last night. But then I realized something. Being lost made us stronger. We had no parents to guide us. No one to hold our hands. We had to figure everything out by ourselves. And we did. We are still here. On the other side of the station, Null, the young Eldara, was having his own crisis. He sat in his chamber, surrounded by screens showing human history. He had watched everything. Ancient wars fought with swords and spears. World wars fought with bombs and poison. He saw humans killing each other over land, over ideas, over the color of their skin. It was horrible, but he also saw other things. He saw humans running into burning buildings to save strangers. He saw doctors working for days without sleep to save sick children. He saw people giving their last piece of bread to those who had nothing. He saw artists creating beauty in the middle of destruction. He saw lovers holding hands as the world fell apart around them. Humans were a contradiction. They were the best and the worst of all things mixed together. Noel did not understand. The Eldara were peaceful. They had not fought a war in 6 billion years. They solved problems with discussion and patience. Violence was something they had left behind when the universe was young. How could their children be so different? He went to find Hannah. She was in the garden, a place where the Eldara grew plants from 1,000 worlds. She looked up when he approached. "You're confused," she said. It was not a question, Yesnal admitted. We designed you to be curious and creative. We gave you the ability to feel deeply, but we did not give you violence. That came from somewhere else. Hannah picked a flower. It was blue with silver edges. She had never seen anything like it. Violence came from survival, she said. When your colony ship crashed on Earth, we lost everything. Your technology, your knowledge, your guidance. We were just animals on a dangerous world. We had to fight to live. Hunt or be hunted. Kill or be killed. But you kept the violence even after you did not need it, as Hannah agreed. That is our shame. But it is also part of our story. She looked at him directly. Can you really say the Eldar have never done terrible things? In 7 billion years? Nal was quiet. The Eldar did not talk about the early times, the times before they learned peace. But Hannah was right. Those times existed. They were just buried very deep. What I find remarkable, Nal said slowly, is that you keep trying. Every time you fall into darkness, you climb back out. You create movements for justice. You write laws to protect the weak. You teach your children to be better than you were. We fail often, Hannah said. Yes, but you never stop trying. We Eldar achieved peace and then stopped changing. You are still changing, still growing, still becoming. He paused. I think maybe that is what we designed into you. Not peace, but the desire for peace. Not perfection, but the hunger for it. At the same time, Orin was meeting with the Eldara Council. 12 ancient beings sat in a circle of light, debating the fate of their returned children. They are dangerous, one elder said. Their history proves it. They are young, another argued. We were dangerous too once. Should we guide them now? Teach them our ways. Can we even do that? They have their own ways, their own culture, their own identity. Orin listened to all of this. He had lived longer than any of them. He remembered creating the first human templates. He remembered the hope and love that went into every cell. Finally, he raised his hand for silence. I have watched them, he said, studied them, spoken with them, and I have come to a conclusion. The council leaned forward. They are not our lost children anymore, Orin said. They were supposed to be gentle gardeners like us. Instead, they became warriors and poets. They turned their pain into fire and their suffering into song. They are something we never intended, something we never imagined. What are they then? An elder asked. Orin's eyes glowed with something like wonder. They are our future, he said. We Eldara have become still, content. We stopped reaching for new things millions of years ago. But humans? They are still hungry, still reaching, still dreaming, he smiled. Perhaps they are not just our children. Perhaps they are what we were always meant to become, but were too afraid to be. The council was silent. The oldest species in the universe was looking at its youngest creation and seeing not a child, but a mirror showing them what they had lost and what they might still find again. Not all the Eldara welcomed the humans with open arms. On the 7th day, an elder named Keth demanded a meeting. Keth was old, even by Eldara standards. His light was dim and cold. He had seen civilizations rise and fall. He had watched species destroy themselves with the same violence that humans carried in their blood. He did not trust these lost children. They must be tested, Keth said to the council. Before we accept them as our equals, they must prove they are worthy. Orin frowned. They have already proven themselves. They survived 7 billion years without us. They reached the stars. Survival is not worthiness, Keth replied. Any animal can survive. I want to know if they have souls. Real souls. I want to know if they can face what they truly are. The council discussed this for hours. In the end, they agreed. The test would happen. But Orin made one condition. The humans would face it together. No one would be alone. June gathered his crew in their quarters on the station. He explained what was coming. They want to test us, he said. I do not know exactly what it means, but they say we must face ourselves, our history. The things we have done as a species? Ooh! Looked nervous. What kind of test? They would not say, but I think it will not be easy. Hannah stood tall. We have come this far. We can handle whatever they show us. The next morning, the Eldara brought them to a chamber they called the Mirror Hall. It was ancient. It's built in the early days of the Eldara civilization. This was where young species were once tested. This was where truth was revealed. Keth stood at the entrance. His cold eyes looked at each human. You will enter one at a time, he said. Inside, you will see your species as it truly is. You will experience the worst of human history. If you break, you fail. If you deny the truth, you fail. Only by accepting what you are can you pass. June stepped forward first. I will go. The door opened. He walked inside alone. The hall was dark at first. Then light came. And with the light came images, sounds, smells, feelings. June found himself standing in a city. But the city was on fire. Buildings crumbled. People screamed. He looked up and saw the flash of an atomic bomb in the sky. The heat hit him. The screaming hit him. He felt everything. The fear, the pain, the dying. He fell to his knees. This was Hiroshima, or Nagasaki. One of the cities humanity had destroyed with its most terrible weapon. This is what you are, a voice said. It was Keth. Destroyers. Killers. June wanted to run, to hide, but he forced himself to look. To see, to remember when the vision ended. He was shaking. But he was still standing. Hannah went next. She found herself in a camp. Rows of thin people with empty eyes. Barbed wire everywhere. This was the Holocaust. She saw the gas chambers. She saw the bodies. She felt the despair of millions who died for no reason except hate. She wept, but she did not break. Tay experienced the slave ships. The darkness below deck. The chains. The people stolen from their homes and treated like animals. He heard their songs of sorrow. He felt their hopelessness. Sue walked through a plague hospital. She saw patients dying while doctors had no medicine to give them. She saw rich people hoarding supplies while poor people died in the streets. She saw the cruelty of inequality. Wu was the youngest. His vision was perhaps the hardest. He became a soldier. A boy, really? Barely older than Wu himself. He felt the soldier's terror as bullets flew. He felt the soldier die alone, crying for his mother in a language Wu did not understand. Then he was another soldier, and another. 1,000 young men dying in 1,000 wars. All of them just boys who wanted to go home. When they all emerged from the mirror hall, they could not look at each other. The shame was too heavy. The Eldar Council watched them. Keth stood with his arms crossed, waiting for them to break, but June stepped forward. His voice was rough from crying, but it was strong. You showed us our sins, he said. The bombs, the camps, the slavery, the wars. He paused. We know these things. We teach them to our children. We build memorials so we never forget. And yet you keep killing, Keth said. You keep hurting each other, as June admitted. We do. We are not perfect. We may never be perfect. He looked at the council. But let me tell you what you did not show us. You showed the Holocaust. But you did not show the people who hid Jewish families in their homes at the risk of their own lives. You showed the slave ships, but you did not show the ones who fought and died to end slavery. You showed the bombs, but you did not show the doctors who ran into the radiation to save survivors. Anna stepped up beside him. For every act of cruelty in human history, there is an act of kindness. For every war, there is a peace movement. For every tyrant, there is a rebel who stands against them. Tay added his voice. We fall into darkness. Again and again. But every single time, some of us climb out. And we reach back to help others climb out too. Sue spoke next. We are not proud of what we were, but we are proud of what we keep trying to become. Finally, young Wu, his face still wet with tears, said the simplest and perhaps the truest thing. We make mistakes. We hurt each other. but we never stop trying to be better. That has to count for something." The chamber fell silent. The council members looked at each other. Even Keth had nothing to say. Aaron rose from his seat. His light was brighter than June had ever seen it. He walked to the humans and stood before them. "In all my billions of years," he said, "I have tested many species. Most broke when they saw their own darkness. Others denied it, pretending they were innocent. But you are the first to accept your darkness and still believe in your own light." He raised his hands and spoke words in the ancient Eldara language, words that had not been spoken in millions of years. "You have walked through fire," Orin said, "and you did not become ash. You became light." He turned to Keth. The old elder's cold expression had changed. There was something new in his eyes. Respect. Maybe even hope. "They have passed," Orin announced. "Not because they are innocent, but because they are honest, and because they refuse to give up on themselves." June felt his crew gather around him. Hannah took his hand. They had faced the worst of humanity and survived. More than that, they had defended their species. Not by pretending to be perfect, but by admitting they were flawed and showing that they were still worth believing in. The oldest species in the universe had judged humanity, and humanity had not been found wanting. The ceremony took place in the heart of the station. This was the oldest room, built when the universe was still young. Light flowed through it like water, and the walls hummed with the memories of 7 billion years. All the Eldara had gathered. Thousands of them, maybe more. They floated in the great space, their lights mixing together into something beautiful. The humans stood in the center, feeling very small, but somehow not afraid. Orin approached them. He wore robes of pure light, ancient symbols dancing across the fabric. Behind him walked Vila and Nal and even Keth, who no longer looked at the humans with cold eyes. "Today we do something that has never been done before," Orin announced. His voice carried to every corner of the heart. "For 7 billion years we mourned our lost children. We believed they had died in the Great Silence. But they did not die. They survived. They grew. They found their way home." He paused and looked at the humans. But they did not come home as children. They came as something else. Something new, he smiled. They came as equals. A wave of murmuring passed through the Eldara crowd. Equals, that was a powerful word. Orin continued. "The council has decided. We recognize the humans not as lost children to be guided, but as a partner species to be respected. We offer them full access to our knowledge, our technology, our place in the galactic community." June felt his heart speed up. This was more than he had ever dreamed. Access to Eldara technology could change everything for humanity. It could solve problems that humans had struggled with for thousands of years. Disease, poverty, war. But then Orin said something unexpected. "However," the ancient being said, "there is a warning. Other young species have received such gifts before. Most of them could not handle the power. They destroyed themselves. The knowledge was too much, too fast. It burned them from the inside." The humans looked at each other. This was the catch, the danger. "So I ask you now, Kong Jun of Earth," Orin said formally, "do you accept our gifts? All of them, freely given?" Everyone waited. June felt the weight of the moment. He thought about what such power could do. He thought about human history. How often had humans used power well? How often had they used it to hurt? He thought about bombs and concentration camps. But he also thought about hospitals and schools, libraries and shelters, hands reaching out to help strangers. Humans were not ready. He knew that in his bones. But they would never be ready if they did not try. He opened his mouth to accept. Then he stopped. Hannah was looking at him. There was something in her eyes, a question, a warning. And suddenly, he understood. June said. The Eldara gasped. Even Orin looked surprised. "No?" The elder speaker repeated. "We do not refuse your friendship," June said carefully. "We welcome it with full hearts. But we refuse shortcuts. We refuse to be given what we have not earned." He stepped forward, speaking to the whole gathering now. Humanity has always grown through struggle. We learn by trying and failing and trying again. If you give us everything, we will not know its value. We will not understand its responsibility. He paused. We would rather earn our place among the stars, slowly, step by step, making our own mistakes and learning our own lessons. Vela tilted her head. You would refuse knowledge that could save millions of lives. June felt the weight of that question. It was the hardest thing he had ever faced. We will learn to save those lives ourselves, he said. In our own time. In our own way. That is how humans grow. That is how we become worthy of such gifts. Silence filled the heart. Then, slowly, Orin began to laugh. It was a warm sound, full of joy. In all my years, he said, no species has ever refused our gifts. Most grab for power, like hungry animals. But you choose the harder path. You choose to earn what others would simply take. He shook his head in wonder. You truly are remarkable creatures. Keth stepped forward. His face was no longer cold. There was something like admiration in his ancient eyes. I doubted you, he said to June. I thought you were too violent, too chaotic, too young. But I was wrong. You have something we Eldara lost long ago. What is that? June asked. Humility, Keth said, and wisdom enough to know your own limits. These are rare qualities. Perhaps the rarest in the universe, the ceremony continued. The Eldara recognized humanity as a partner species. They would share friendship, communication, and slow exchange of ideas. But they would not flood humans with power they were not ready for. At the end of the ceremony, Null approached the human crew. I have a request, he said. He looked nervous, which was strange for an Eldara. What is it? Hannah asked. I want to come with you. To Earth, he looked at the ground. I have studied humans from far away. I have watched your signals and read your history, but I want to understand you from the inside. I want to walk among you. Live as you live. Feel what you feel, June was surprised. You would leave your people? Your home. My people have been still for too long, Null said. You have reminded us what it means to grow and change and reach for new things. I want to be part of that. I want to learn from you, just as you will learn from us. Orin appeared beside them. I have given my blessing, he said. Null will be the first Eldara to leave our space in 3 million years. It is a new beginning for all of us. As the Wanderer prepared to leave, Orin came to say goodbye. He brought a gift. It was a small crystal, no bigger than June's thumb. Inside it, light swirled and danced. This is a memory, Orin explained. The moment we first sent your ancestors into the void, all our hopes and dreams for you are inside this crystal. His eyes glistened with tears of light. We made you to carry our dreams forward, but you did more than that. You created dreams we never could have imagined. He pressed the crystal into June's hand. Go home, Kong June. Tell your people who they are. Tell them where they came from. And tell them from me, ... His voice broke. Tell them we are proud. So very proud. The Wanderer launched from the station. Through the windows. The humans watched the Eldara home grow smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. Null stood with them, his light soft with emotion. This was his first time leaving the only home he had ever known, but he was not afraid. He was excited. Hannah found June staring at the navigation screen. Earth's coordinates glowed in the center. What do we tell them? She asked. When we get home? How do we explain all of this? June thought about it for a long moment. He thought about everything they had learned, everything they had faced, everything they had become. We tell them the truth, he said finally. We tell them that we were never alone. We were lost, but we were never forgotten. And now we have found our family again. He looked at the stars stretching out before them. For the first time in human history, those stars did not seem so cold, so empty, so lonely. We tell them that the universe is bigger than we ever imagined, June continued, and that we have our place in it. Not as accidents, not as mistakes, But as children who grew up strong and found their way home, Hannah smiled. She leaned against his shoulder in the future. She asked, "What about that?" June watched the stars. Behind them, the Eldara were waiting. Ahead of them, Earth was waiting. And all around them, the universe was full of wonders they had not yet discovered. The future, he said, is whatever we make it, just like it has always been. The wanderer flew on, toward home, toward Earth, toward a humanity that did not yet know its own story. But they would. Soon they would know everything, and they would never look at the stars the same way again.